Hey everyone, my name's Patricia. I'm 21 and I didn't know I was a lesbian until I met a muscle girl. Before I met Samantha, I was a pretty typical college student. I was living in an apartment off campus with this girl Sharon, who was pretty much the complete opposite of me. I was what you might call an introvert, which means I'm shy. Sharon was insanely outgoing. She had a ton of dates and was always hosting this gathering or that. We had a spare room we wanted to fill so we could cut the rent. I barely knew anybody, but Sharon always had a friend of a friend to call. Socializing was my Achilles heel, especially around guys. I never knew exactly what to say or how to impress them, so I usually just gave up. I watched Patricia work her charms and felt like I should have been taking notes. She was just so open and warm that the guys flocked to her. The truth is, I never really had a real boyfriend before. I mean, I'd gone out with a couple guys in high school, but there was never any passion. I'll never forget the night I admitted this to Sharon. "You never had a boyfriend?" she asked, in complete shock. I think she felt sorry for me. I wasn't looking for anybody's pity, but when she offered to help, I took it. It's not because I needed it, but Sharon was just so excited. The truth was, I did want a boyfriend. I just didn't like to admit it. Sharon started referring to me as her project. She was determined to get me a boyfriend. And if I'm honest, I think she was taking it a little too personally, although she had some good advice. She told me I should smile at myself in the mirror every day. Next, Sharon wanted to change my wardrobe. I tended to just throw on the first thing I tripped over in the morning, but Sharon said she had to put some color in my threads, so she took me shopping. She even insisted that I wear heels to meet this guy she was setting me up with. The guy I met was nice enough, but he couldn't stop talking about international finance for some reason. I told him I had a great time, but when he tried to kiss me, I got scared and screamed for help. And we left on awkward terms, which I had a habit of doing on first dates. Like I said, he was a nice guy, but I just met him. I found out later that Sharon had been watching from inside and she chastised me for freaking out on her friend. She was starting to sound like my mom and I was about to tell her to back off. But then suddenly the door opened and a huge muscle girl came barreling in carrying a TV. Sharon freaked, thinking we were being robbed by the Hulk. And because she screamed, I screamed. "What's the matter?" the muscle girl said. "Today's move-in day, right?" Samantha said that a move-in company should knock before entering, and that's when this muscle girl laughed and set down the TV. "I don't need no move-in company," she said. "I can move my own stuff." Then she grabbed our hands, introducing herself as our new roommate. She was so strong and practically lifted me off my feet when she took my hands. Her name was Samantha, and she was so striking. She had a gentle face with an intoxicating smile, but her body was huge, and her muscles were chiseled. Sharon and I both watched her move all her stuff in from the truck, and she seemed to do it with such ease. I'd seen some guys working in pairs, straining to move couches up and down those same stairs, but Samantha was a boss and twice as strong. I couldn't help but be impressed. But Sharon was throwing shade for some reason. She said, "It's kind of weird for a girl to have such huge muscles." "It's not so weird," I said. I told her that it was becoming more common these days for women to bulk up. "Well, you'll never get a guy that way," she said. I welcomed Samantha in and asked if she wanted to get dinner or something, but she said that she had to work out this evening. I could see that it took a lot of work to keep such a powerful physique, and Samantha was strict with her routine. "What do you do with all those muscles?" I asked her, being awkward as usual. I'm sorry," I said. "I just wondered if you did bodybuilder competitions or you were a wrestler or something." She laughed and said she did weight training because she liked to stay fit. "You never know when you need to take on a horde of zombies," she told me, flexing. And then she winked at me and said I should join her in the gym sometime. I started wearing my old clothes again. I wasn't trying to offend Sharon, but she was. She kept insisting that I looked supremely better in her clothes. Finally, I told her to back off, and Samantha overheard and ended up getting my back. "You should always be yourself," Samantha said, and Sharon started challenging Samantha. And then she raged at me. She said I'd never get a boyfriend with that advice, and I called her a control freak and told her not to set me up on any more dates. We pretty much stopped talking after that. Meanwhile, Samantha and I were getting closer. I liked hanging out with her, and since she was always working out, I thought it would be a good chance to get into shape myself. I didn't have the best fitness routine before, so it was hard for me to keep up at first. But I loved spending time with Samantha. She was a great teacher and taught me more about my body and how I could sculpt it. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't have to force the smile. It just came. I wanted to have big muscles like Samantha, and I changed my diet and whole lifestyle to match hers. One afternoon, Samantha and I ran into Sharon on campus with all of her friends, and she called us a lesbian couple. I couldn't believe how immature she was being, but her comment stuck with me. I couldn't stop imagining me and Samantha as a lesbian couple, and I think I kinda liked the idea. I thought about what it'd be like to kiss her and for her to put her arms around me, but I was too embarrassed to say anything. I guess the shy side of me was showing itself, but we were working out all the time and my body was totally changing. Sharon finally moved out and we turned her room into our own gym. I had six-pack abs and big biceps. I worked my legs, my back. I was now almost as muscular as Samantha, and I was loving it. Most people thought it was cool, but every once in a while you'd hear somebody naysay like Sharon. But what did Sharon know? She was dead wrong about me getting a date because a lot of guys seemed to like my new image and thought female muscle growth was hot. One day, Samantha said she wanted me to go with her on a double date. Apparently, there were a couple of guys interested, and she thought it would be a good time. The plans were for all of us to meet at the restaurant for dinner about 7:30, but these guys were nowhere to be found. And Samantha and I were pretty hungry, so we ended up sitting down to dinner. Samantha looked so beautiful at dinner. All I could think about was kissing her. It was on my mind the whole night. All night I could hear romantic songs playing in the background. And sometimes I think they were just playing in my head. There was no escaping it or hiding it. I was completely in love with Samantha. We got ice cream after dinner, and I got a little bit on my nose. She wiped it off for me, and we looked into each other's eyes. The moment just overwhelmed me, and I leaned in to kiss her. "Are you trying to kiss me?" she asked. I got so embarrassed. I pulled away and ran out of there. Samantha drove, and I had to take the subway home. When I got there, the lights were on in the apartment, and I just froze. How was I so awkward? I pretty much chased away both my roommates, and I wish I could have a do-over. Just then, the door opened, and Samantha was standing on the other side. Without saying a word, she leaned in, took my face in her hands, and kissed me. My heart swelled. Butterflies went wild in my stomach. It was probably the best surprise of my life. Samantha told me that she'd been crushing on me since she moved in, and she had a confession to make. There were no guys taking us on a double date. She made that up as an excuse to get us alone. It was crafty, but romantic. And I confessed that I had feelings for her too. I still haven't had a real boyfriend, but I didn't really care anymore because I had one heck of a girlfriend and couldn't be happier with our muscles or our love. And when rumors of us being lesbians in love floated around, we embraced it and came out to the whole school, unafraid of what others thought. One afternoon, we were holding hands and we came across Sharon. She was staring at us and I thought something mean was going to come out of her mouth, but it didn't. She apologized for being catty before and said that if we were happy together and if we had love, that was all that mattered. She said she didn't understand female muscle growth before, but everyone was embracing us for being ourselves and showing our muscles and love to the world. I learned that no matter what, you gotta be yourself. There's just no other way that works. There's this saying out there, you can't fit a round peg into a square hole. Trying to be somebody you're not never works out. So don't be afraid to build muscles or dress for yourself. Just do you and listen to your heart. Where does your heart tell you to go? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.